your usual place. No, I'm not. Actually, I am not. I've got my group here from my professional life. I've got my global team, and we're actually doing a 3-day workshop, and we're at a team building event right now. But I cannot miss my favorite time of the week, which is being Brown at Work live. So I welcome everyone to the live, and I know you see this beautiful face. You recognize her because she has joined us earlier in the year, and she was gracious to come back again and talk about a really critical topic, which is how to manage burnout. But before we dive in, let me remind you about this beautiful woman, Ashley Wynn Grimes. Baltimore, Maryland native, Black female entrepreneur, and a registered nurse for more than 12 years, Ashley Wynn Grimes is the founder of Cannabis Nursing Solutions, LLC. She's the author of Stigmatized. If you guys remember, that was our first section when we did it earlier, and I had the book. And if you haven't bought the book, I mean, what's up? Go buy the book. Okay, seriously. Stigmatized. And the children's book is, I said this before, is it Asa?
Asa.
Asa. See, I did it again, Ashley. Sorry about that. I'm just losing everything here. Hold on one second. See, this is what happens when it's live.
It's all good.
So all happens when it's live. So my earpiece fell out. I got so excited. So ACE's medicine. Ashley's work is dedicated to empowering patients and nursing professionals to make informed wellness choices with impactful educational medical programs that also serve to promote diverse representation and increase resiliency in those she serves. During her impressive career, Ashley has worked in various healthcare settings, including telemetry, nursing, quality improvement, which you guys know I'm in quality, professional development. She is responsible for trailblazing non traditional cannabis patient care programs in Maryland that offer standardized approaches to dispensing cannabis for nursing professionals and children in school settings. Ashley holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in nursing and a master's degree in nurse education from Towson University. And in 2021, she was chosen for Baltimore Business Journal Leaders in Healthcare. Ashley also has a certification in professional development and is a Six Sigma Lean Black Belt or Lean Six Sigma Black Belt. Ashley, welcome back to Being Brown at Work Live.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of that.
Yes, 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 yes. And the energy that exists that made my ear pods fall out. But really because Ashley, we had such a phenomenal session first time around when you were gracious enough to join me. And we talked about stigmatism and and how to deal with that. And as I shared with you before, I've only had you and one other guest really focusing on self-care. And it's so important as we as Black and Brown women, given everything we deal with day to day in our personal lives and in our professional lives around systemic racism, microaggressions, all those things, it's just really important for me to offer my audience this type of dialogue, right? How they can take care of themselves and to minimize as much as possible the impact.
For sure.
So, let's just dive right in, Ashley. Prone to burnout. As I shared with you, some of my clients pretend like it doesn't exist. They don't want to really own the fact that we can get pretty stressed and burned out, and that we really could do some things for ourselves to reduce the impact. So,
Yeah.
could you share a little bit, maybe even with some of your experience? I love your word when you use it with your tribe around some of that same concept and how we, really struggle with this at times.
Yeah. So I think everyone is guilty of struggling with this. It's widespread, it's pervasive. Our A lot of our cultures and our workplaces, our work environments do not support a lot of flexibility. Um, and the
Yes.
most simple example of that is just time constraint. You have to show up here at this time and be here from this time to this time, and you have to do this during. So if, for example, if I'm supposed to show up at this time and, I happen to not feel so great, maybe I'm feeling anxious in a moment or sad or whatever the emotion is in the time that you're experiencing it, there's really not a lot of wiggle room to address that. You have to focus on where you have to be. And so
So
those
true.
constraints, and and at the end of the day, this is the world that we live in. So, these are real choices that need to be made every day. But I think the important part is to be able to recognize when that's occurring, when you're making the choice to neglect your self-care in a moment. So,
Mm,
if in the example that I gave, you have to be at work and you happen to feel anxious, is there something that I can do that doesn't stop me from getting to where I need to go while also being mindful at the same time?
hmm.
The simplest response to that is to take a deep breath.
And just pause.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I don't think we allow ourselves to do, right? I mean, it sounds simple. I
Hmm.
mean, some of you that are listening to this live or catching this on the replay, you hear Ashley say that it sounds simple, but when it's actually time for you to do that, to just stop and pause and breathe,
Hmm.
it can be the most difficult thing to do.
It can be. And that's because our emotions, like, so we're always caught up in our self-talk and, in our routines,
Yes.
and the chatter is taking over. So if you're in a rush to get to work, the self-talk is probably saying, gotta get to work, gotta get to work, gotta get to work. It's not thinking,
Mm,
oh, you're ignoring this anxious feeling. No, you're focused on, if your awareness is here, this is what you're trying to do. And so
right.
really what you're trying to do is course correct cycles or patterns
Mm,
that show up, because we're so used to action or thought and then action, thought and then action, and there's no room for additional action or additional thought,
wow.
right?
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Oh, repeat that. Because that just, when you said that, I don't know, that just resonated with me because you're right. We are so used to thought, action, thought, and then action.
mhm.
There's no really thought, action. Well, let me thought, thought,
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That we don't do that. You're absolutely
Or
right.
or on the flip side of that spectrum, it's thought, 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 and never any action.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. So true. So true. So and then let's pile on top of that,
Mhm.
that we're in an environment, we're trying to show up and be our best selves. We realize that people around us don't believe that we're capable of being much.
Yeah.
So then we're dealing with that pressure on top of the self-talk,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the external dialogue also matters. So
Mm.
if your internal and sometimes the external, I have my earbuds in too. Sorry. Sometimes the internal chatter doesn't match the external chatter. And so
Wow.
the problem is then now you're in conflict with yourself, because most of us really don't know who we are, so we don't know like
Oh,
how valuable the internal chatter actually is. We can't figure that,
yes.
and it's hard to discern what is what, because this is talking to you out here, you're talking to you in here. It's a mixture of what's out here and what's in. And you're
Mm.
like, well, what do I listen to? What do
Mm.
I do next? How do I make sure that I stay like, a whole person and not
Yes.
myself based on my external environment? And so and this significantly has a lot to do with personal and professional development. I know you mentioned you're at your conference, and
Yes.
team building, because those are also the things that block us from being able to develop ourselves in the work that we do, because there's this innate need to want to find something that's comfortable, and for a lot of people, if the comfort is what I used to do, why would I consider what somebody else is telling me what I need to do?
Wow. Whoa. Okay. Wait. See, see the gems from guests like Ashley. Wait a minute. If the comfort is what I used to do, why would I listen to someone say this is what I should do, or
Hmm.
this is what I should consider? Oh
Hmm.
my God, that's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we wouldn't take the time to consider it.
Right. Right.
And then the fact that they're telling me that this is what I should be doing or considering, that's that external talk. But then internally, I'm telling myself, oh, wait a minute, I've always done it this way.
Yeah.
Oh my God. See, that's just,
Yeah.
Because I find myself even doing that a lot of times.
And we're all, so those are just human flaws.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
we're
yeah, yeah.
programmed that way to one, I mean, golly, the ego, man,
Oh,
that thing.
that thing right there.
Right?
That thing right there. Yes.
Right? Um,
Yes.
so I mean that alone can get you kind of messed up.
Woo.
But it's also emotion. So emotion is supposed to be a compass for us, but because we're so dysregulated, it doesn't serve us that way. So the combination
Mm.
of the ego driving us in a direction to fuel and satiate that whatever that desire is, and the combination of the dysregulated emotional intelligence, it makes us move and react as opposed to move and decide.
Ah. Oh my God. There's another gem. Okay, look, I myself gonna have to go back and listen to this replay because there's just so much here. So that what did you say? The emotional intelligence. You had a word in front of that first.
Oh, I don't.
Disassociated.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes. Disassociated emotional intelligence causes us to move and react.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh
instead
my,
of move and choose.
instead of move, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, Ashley, that's
Yeah.
everything. And it does. It does.
Yeah.
So then, and then we react sometimes in ways that we wish we hadn't,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We react in ways we wish we hadn't, and then the repercussions of that, then the stress, then that repeats itself, that cycle, and then before you know it, we're burned out.
Yeah, we're burnt out. The whole team's burnt out. Spread it around the office.
But yes, it's become contagious, it's
Right?
everywhere. The team and people see you coming, they go in the opposite direction, because all of that.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Ashley, you have so well contextualized that and how it manifests itself, and
Yeah.
which is beautiful. So okay, so now we're in that, Ashley, and I'm hearing you. It's resonating with me. We're listening to you. We're like, okay, yes, get it. So what do I do? What are some of the things that I can do to prevent that cycle, or to at least reduce it, mitigate? I don't know.
So it's a process to
Okay.
so it is a cycle that's natural and normal to the biology of the human being, but there are ways to reset it. And one of the things that because the idea of I'm going to say spirituality, I don't know if that's going to turn people off, but the idea of spirituality has gone so mainstream that
Yeah.
it confuses a lot of the population about what that means. And so
Mm.
what I'm going to say may kind of fall into that, but it's not the same thing.
Okay.
So, one of the first things that needs to occur is personal and spiritual development.
Mm.
Sometimes, and in fact, all the time, it shows up in the form of education first, conceptual knowledge. Uh,
Okay.
and that's usually where businesses and organizations stop. They say, I'm going to give you conceptual knowledge for you to use. And then it's up to the human to choose to use it. Right.
Ah, very true. Yes.
And
Yes.
so what needs to happen for a lot of people, and some organizations are kind of getting there, it's now we need to empower you to use it.
Mm.
You have to be
Yes.
validated from the external world that this internal information now is accurate and that I can act upon it.
Yes. Yes. So not only organizations, you do the team building, you do the professional development, which is okay. I give you all this information and knowledge, but now what needs to happen is let me now support you, empower you, let you know, yes, not only did I give you the knowledge and the information, but I now want you to implement it and use it.
Yes.
And I'm going to support you, even here's the challenging part, right? Even when you're not so good at implementing it.
Yes. That is the most important part, because the first time you give anybody any type of conceptual knowledge, they will not get it right the first time.
Absolutely.
Not even get it right the second time. It may take up to 6 months, up to a year
Mm.
for it to get ingrained as a habit or a pattern.
Wow. And you know, like I know, because you've been in the environment like I have, we don't have the patience for that.
No.
Usually, as leaders, we don't have the patience for that. And then we wonder why our team's performance reduces,
Mm-hmm.
why we have so many people that are either out sick or they're, taking leaves of absence or whatever.
Yeah,
It's because of that.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Because it's the constraint. So most organizations are focused on cost savings or either revenue generation,
Yep. Yep.
and variations of whatever their goals are that fits under their KPI. And so we get like hyper focused on this one thing. And usually we come up with some sort of arbitrary timeline. We be like, yeah, next year we're gonna do this.
And
And
it's look, arbitrary. Look, let's just be real. Like it is. It is. Let's just be real. It is. It is. We're gonna do this and we're gonna do it within a year. No, we're not.
we not.
No,
You
we're
already
not.
knew that when you said it. You already knew it when you said it.
Exactly.
Man,
Exactly.
but as soon as we put it out there, and especially for us as leaders, right? We put it out for
Yes.
our team and we give them the directive and they say, okay, well, we're going to do it. She said, do it. Let's go do it. And we're all running to the races.
Mm.
And at no point when we're on this race to hit this arbitrary timeline or this goal or whatever it is that we're trying to do, at no point do we stop and evaluate our team.
Ashley. Oh my gosh. That is so true. We do not do that. We don't pause to say, look, is everybody okay? Are you okay? Are you handling that? Is there something I can do for you? Are you feeling stressed? Or we don't. We
No,
don't. We
no.
don't. But then we wonder why we get to that ninth hour or close to the 11th hour of that arbitrary timeline and find that we have this gap, this massive gap
Yeah.
to the KPI. And
Yeah.
then it's like, well, how in the what the world? We missed the connection of the
Yeah.
people.
Oh, let me get here's more. So then as
Okay.
a leader, now you like, wait a minute, I failed, right?
Boom. You're right.
So now you all upset, right? We all upset. We burning up on the inside. Like, I can't believe I failed.
That.
How can I figure out what the problem is that caused
Mm,
me to fail?
wow. Ashley, yes. That's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens. And some leaders look for who was the problem.
That too.
Some, unfortunately, some leaders look for, okay, who can I shoot? Who? It's got to be a who, not a what,
Mm-hmm.
right? What happened? No, who was at fault? Who made me fail? Who caused this situation? Oh my gosh, that's so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Spot on. Spot on. Okay, so look, we got, this is what, when I get with guests like you and I look at the clock and I'm like, what the world? You can't tell me we got 5, 10 minutes left. No, what the world? Because this, no, but this is such a critical dialogue that we had, Ashley. And I just love how you put it all together, but how beautifully you connected it because it is real life of
Yeah.
what we experience. And then put in the intersectionality of it all of being a black or brown woman.
Add that on to the mix.
Now add that on to
Mhm.
what we just talked about,
Yeah.
right? So, we got part two, guys. So I'm telling you, the part one's beautiful already. I know you're feeling it. Part two, you're not going to want to miss. But Ashley, before we get into sharing what part two is going to be like, can you give a few suggestions? You mentioned pausing and breathing,
Mhm.
but what would be some other suggestions that you would give us as we find ourselves exactly in this spiral that you just talked about?
For sure. So all of them are in an attempt to increase self-awareness.
Okay.
So the first step to so pausing and breathing is one thing, but then you have to pay attention to what's happening,
Mm,
right? And so
yes.
that's the part where we can help support from the outside. So one of the ways that I have found is very quirky, but does creating jewelry, amulet this creation, right, with
Oh,
copper and wrapping and handling and maneuvering, is very grounding. And so stones and anything that comes from the earth has a high vibrational energy that we get to also participate, engage with, that help is very, very grounding in nature naturally. And the process of actually manipulating the wire and the stone itself helps bring you back to present. And that's just one simple activity. It's actually really, really simple to do. And I've done a ton of workshops with people where they've gotten really, like, they walk away and they're like, "Ashley, what you do to me? I didn't do nothing. We just,
right. No, but
I walked you through it." Yeah.
right,
But,
exactly.
you
But I
know,
want to share because I actually did. I went to a yoga retreat a few years ago, and part of that retreat, we did exactly that. And
mhm,
I had no idea why I was doing it. Had no idea. But
yeah,
what I felt afterwards,
it's
phenomenal.
amazing.
And I it was totally new to me, and I kind of was sitting there thinking, what are we doing? Why am I making? Why am I? What? But it really was. And so when some of you that are listening to this, you might say, I don't know if I'm feeling Ashley right now. Look, just be open. This is open minded, because
Yeah.
we're in this such high energized and sometimes negatively energized environment
Mhm.
on a regular basis. And I'm always open to ways that I can center myself, ground myself, relax, de-stress.
For
And
sure.
that's what this is all about.
For sure.
Anything else you wanted to share before we talk about what we're going to talk about on our next session? Because I'm so excited about it, because it's so new to me and I want everybody to hear about it. But go ahead.
For sure. So that was just one example, but anything that allows you to connect with your environment is also very, very helpful. That's a very simple mindfulness tool. So if there's a tree
Nice.
nearby, just go and stand and touch it. If you are in a space where you can take your shoes off and let your feet touch the ground. If you can
Mm.
sit on concrete or sit on the earth in some capacity. I mean, and it doesn't have to be weird. Like, you don't have to, like, I know I sound weird when I'm doing it, but it doesn't have to be weird. Like, you can literally just walk up to a tree and just put your hand on it. Nobody will ever pay you any attention. And it'll just kind
Right.
of bring you back to reality. And again, tap
Yeah.
into high energy
Yeah.
frequency that you can better align yourself. So that gives you the space to pay attention to what you have going on within you.
Okay. I love it. I love it. And it's all about that true self-awareness, right? Truly what's going on, not just in the head, but in the heart, in the mind, in the body, in the spirit, as well as in the heart. So I mean, it's all new to me, everyone, but I'm telling you, the more I get exposed and the more I open my mind and try things, the better I feel I am for it. And so one thing we're going to introduce you to, and you want to join us in the next session for this, is something called My Human Design.
Mm-hmm.
So Ashley told me about it, just a high level. I went out online and did mine. And so on the 21st, you want to join us for part two, because Ashley's going to step us through my results and what they mean. So just kind of high level, Ashley, what is My Human Design?
So it's actually human design. So there are different like platforms that
Oh,
are, yeah,
okay.
like branding wise, I don't know like whose brand is what, but it's just
Okay.
human design.
Oh, just human. Okay.
And it's basically a combination of different sciences like the Kabbalah, like astrology, and it's like it combines all of that into this like almost like a science. They call it a pseudoscience. And essentially you put your birth date in and your name and all that information that it asks you for, and then it spits out a map of your literal human design.
Yes.
And what's interesting about it is that, first of all, I mean, unless you do years of study on this thing, like, it's so detailed. I mean, there are numbers everywhere, there are gates everywhere. There's so much information embedded into this chart. Is fascinating. But on the surface level, you get to learn your aura type, which your aura is your energetic field around
Yep.
you. Your profile is what they call it. So almost speaking to your natural subconscious and conscious processing.
Yep.
And then some other aspects that talk about like what your ideal environment, is like
Yes.
making, what type of foods you should probably be eating, to help support balance within your human based off of the design.
Yeah.
And when I say that, it's mind blowing once you get like some awareness of it. Like you don't even have to go into it deep. If you just get that overarching layer talked about, and it shows up as a form of uh, uh, I'm going to say shadow work. I hate using certain terminology, but it's a form of shadow work. And so what that means is just getting to know the side of you that you keep hidden, that you
Yeah.
lay dormant,
Yeah.
or that is overexposed. And
Yeah.
there's an aspect of you that, on the flip side, there's a good part of you that you might be, hiding.
Yeah.
So working through some of those things is deeply transformational, because some of that is based off of programming from when we were small. We were
Yes.
told to do certain things a certain way, and it goes against our natural inclination to do certain things a certain
Yes.
way. And so
Yes.
for many of us, it actually can result and show up that that friction, or the fragmentation, can also actually show up in our bodies as illness, or
Yeah.
a contributing factor to stress.
Yes, and it's a major contributing factor to stress. So those of you that that you've been hanging with me for a while, you hear me often say who you are personally is who you are professionally. And it's that connection to really because there's some things I had to unlearn for
Mhm.
me to even be successful in my professional life. I had to unlearn them, right? I had to do so. And when I did this human design thing, I didn't realize my environment was mountains. But when I think about if I'm ever in the mountains, I can remember when I went to Asheville and I did the Leaf tour. I was so like enjoying that and couldn't figure out why.
Mhm.
But because I mean, heights kind of freak me out, but I can be in a plane. And I was on that bus up going through the mountains. I was like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. Human design said that my environment is the mountains. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And here I thought it was the beach and the water because I like, not so much.
Yeah.
Not so much, honestly, right?
Yeah.
So it's, so everyone, look, join us on the 21st because she's going to step through mine. And again, this is going to sound like a little different, but it's opening our minds and understanding, look, we have these environments that we deal in Monday through Friday, sometimes Monday through Sunday, 9 to 5. And they're stressful environments. And as Black and brown women, we need every vehicle possible that allows us to center ourselves, allows us to come back to ourselves so that we can be our full, authentic, powerful, phenomenal selves. And that's what this is really all about. So you want to come back on the 24th, first, excuse me. And it's right before Thanksgiving. I think it's perfect, right? Perfect timing that week. And you can join Ashley and I as she steps through the report of my human design for me, for Linda, and actually share with you what it means. And believe you me, I'm going to take some aspects of it, especially around what I should be eating, because I know I don't always make the right choices. Something got to change there for sure. For sure. Ashley, this has been phenomenal as always. I really, really appreciate you. I can't wait for 2 weeks from now when we can just learn some more ways of really grounding ourselves and minimizing, because burnout unfortunately happens, but if we can find these ways to at least minimize the impact of it,
Yeah.
or eventually totally eliminate it or mitigate it, I think it'd be phenomenal for us overall. So Ashley, thank you so much. You're phenomenal. I appreciate your time. And again, you want to catch this on the replay, or if you're catching on the replay, send Ashley a message, send me one. If you joined us live, I really appreciate you. Come back in a couple of weeks. I'm telling you, you will not regret it.
I love
Until next time. Thank you, Ashley.
you so much.
Pharaoh, you know it is my favorite